It's so stupid.
It's so good though.
I know.
I'm just gonna barrel through it.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Trash Cats Trashcast. I'm Richard,
I'm Steven.
and today we are picking fruit in an extraordinary orchard of album art. We're each gonna pick the sweetest art berries we can find, squeeze out the juices, and make some smoothies. The covers we picked are not based off the albums or music or the videos alone, strictly the cover art itself. We were searching for ones that are extraordinarily unique, rare, and extra ripe. The type of album cover that's dripping with the sweetest sugar crystals of radness. But before we start examining our picks, how was your week?
Man, I loved hearing you read that. That was so stupid. I love it so much. Man, my week's been okay. Stupid job stuff, stupid life's dumb, but I'm doing okay. Just trying to work on shit and stay positive. What about you, man?
Mostly the same. Just kind of, work and bullshit. Not an otherwise extraordinary week. It's my nephew's birthday today. As a recording, not when it releases. And other than that, it's otherwise just a regular ass week.
Dumb world, chilling when can.
Yep.
Big world, lot of smells.
You got any honorable mentions on you this week?
Yeah, since we're looking at some fucking rad album art today, I'm going to shout out two art group / Instagram pages that are, they feature album art and graphic designers who make album covers, and they try to create assets for the artist to use and feature cool album art. So the first of which being Black Market. Their Instagram page is BLK Market, all one word. They do some cool stuff. Check them out. And then the other one is Album Art Archive on Instagram. I recommend, I really hate graphic design asset packs, and a lot of these pages try to sell this dumb shit to artists who are too lazy to make shit themselves. So I recommend stealing as much of their shit as possible, but they do make some decent stuff, and there's lots of really cool artists on there that are worth checking out.
Hell yeah.
What about you? Real quick, at the end of the episode, we're going to play this track by Chaotic Steel, since we forgot to play him the other day when we shouted him out, because we didn't know what the fuck we were doing. We're going to play one of his tracks at the end that I'm super psyched about, and it's been stuck in my head all fucking week.
Hell yeah. I actually have an honorable mention this week.
Shit.
I've been binge watching some YouTube videos of the Tribals. It's TRYBALS is the channel.
Okay.
It's basically these tribal indigenous people of India, like around the border of India and Pakistan, if I'm not mistaken. And they introduce them to like new technology or different concepts from like the Western culture, and like just to get their reaction on it. And It's really informative, and there's a lot of like back and forth sharing, like, well, we have something like that in this culture, in our culture, and like I've seen something like that before, and it's really cool to get a different perspective on things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth checking out. And there's a couple other different channels like them, but they in particular, I think they do it really well. There's one video in particular I really liked where they showed them the joy of painting with Bob Ross, and
That's dope.
They all really liked it. They didn't really come into it knowing what to expect, and then they all left out of there, really happy, and they really enjoyed it. And then a couple of videos later, they actually had them follow along and make their own painting with them. So that turned out really well.
That sounds like super lighthearted and fun.
Yeah, it's really wholesome, good content, good stuff.
Oh, yeah. So, should I kick it off with our first pick?
Chia boy.
All right, so in looking at album art, one of the first ones I was drawn to is the Gorillaz, their self-titled album. Yeah. So this cover, like, I remember my cousin giving me like burnt copies of the Gorillaz, like when they were still new, and it was like then I'm finding their art later, like as a kid, and it was just like the coolest shit ever. Like it was everything I wanted to be as an artist. The visuals were equally as important to the music, and that's what was such a cool combination about them.
Yeah.
So Jamie Hewlett is an English comic creator, animator, designer, illustrator, and director, best known as the co-creator of the comic book Tank Girl, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. Mm-hmm. That was done with Alan Martin, and he is also the co-creators of the virtual band Gorillaz, alongside the Blur frontman Damon Albarn. So Damon and Jamie teamed up as this like duo to make one of the all-time coolest fucking art and visual media projects ever, the fucking Gorillaz. And these album covers are just so dope, especially the self-titled album, that first one when it was just brand new, and we see these awesome character developments and new style of art and music.
Hell yeah.
It's so fucking iconic.
It really is, especially for like the era that we grew up in. It was, it was like you said, the burnt CDs, like that was the height of the LimeWire and fucking Monster. Was it Monster? What's the one I'm thinking
Napster.
of? Napster, yeah.
Dude, what I really love is how they mix like 2D cartoons with like digital photography. Like if you look at that Jeep, like the wheels, like look at the wheels, like that's not Illustrator or animation. Like they use real photos mixed in with their cartoon style to create this like visceral graphic texture.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's so fun, dude. I remember when it first came out, they had a website, like some shitty Flash game website where you could drive. Do you remember the music videos with the highway?
Yeah.
The Jeep looping through the highway. They had like a website where you were driving the Jeep on that highway, and it had all these like hidden games and shit, and all of Jamie's art design everywhere. So much fun.
Fuck yeah.
All right, what you got for your first picky?
My first pick is Mastodon's Cold Dark Place. It's just an EP album, but the artwork was done by Richie Beckett. I really dig all of Mastodon's visual work, both their album work and the visuals they have in their videos and stuff like that. But this cover really drew something in me. It's really dark and gritty. It's a forest scene at night. It's lit by a crescent moon, and you can see light coming from inside a cabin that's been like overgrown with vines, and it's virtually like a piece of the forest. It's creepy and almost like tarot card kind of vibes, and it really matches with the tone of the songs on the album. And like most of the songs were written by Brent Hines, who is their lead guitarist. He really has more of a bluegrassy blues and like folky sound that he does like in his personal time, not just in like Mastodon, but he brings that background to the table and like uses that kind of background in his riffs and stuff. And he's a fucking riff machine. He just comes up with different shit all the time. Really original stuff, but hell yeah, hitting up Fairbanks, boy.
The speed racing up here, bro.
Boy. Dude, P Hill.
This cover, dude, it reminds me of a fairy tale.
Yeah, it's very fantasy-esque, and it's
Brothers
got a lot
Grimm
of
kind of shit.
Yeah, it's just really dark and spooky, and it really kind of caught my attention when it came out.
I do wish more covers like this framed the art better. Like, I think this is a good example of the art being framed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think all like album covers need bordering. A lot of times it's better without, but I do think more should have like organized structure like this. And this is like a really smooth way they did it that feels natural. It frames it, but it doesn't feel like too I don't know, designy or unnatural.
Right. Yeah. It's not like process. You can kind of see some of the vine work going out through the frame kind of in some of the places. And, that's, it kind of makes it a piece of it without, making it seem like it's like, hanging in a gallery or something. It's almost like you're looking through a window.
Right.
And it's, I think that's another way of just drawing you into it.
Dude, and that's album art in general. It really is a window. They're like little square portals into a different world, into the world of the music that you're going to be hearing. But they're special little portals, little windows into this weird place that sounds different. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how that, honestly, this cover wouldn't really be set off without that tiny bit of blue. All it takes is that tiny bit of color, and it brings the whole thing to life.
It makes what would have looked like grayscale before. You can almost see like little, the tan kind of brown hints in it that, contrast that blue.
Dude, that's so, it's so interesting how like a color highlight like that, it brings out all the other shades of color in the black work.
Yeah.
Like you said, it brings out all those tans and blues, and
this gives it life.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, what you got next?
All right, so now we're going to get a little darker. We're going to get a little darker. So this is, honestly, I'm not a big fan of this band. I fucking love black metal, but I think Mayhem is way overrated. Mm-hmm. But this is like one of the stories of a crazy album cover. So this is Mayhem's The Dawn of the Black Hearts. So on the 8th of April, 1991, while left alone in the house, Dead, which is one of the band members of Mayhem, used a hunting knife to slit his wrists and throat, and afterwards shot himself in the forehead with a shotgun. He left a brief suicide note, which started by saying, "Excuse the blood." His body was found by Euronymous, another one of the bandmates, who had to climb through an open window as the doors were locked and there were no keys to the house. Instead of calling the police immediately, he visited a nearby shop to purchase a disposable camera, because that's what you do when you're in a black metal band.
Right.
And he went back and he photographed the body. After rearranging some items for his pictures, he proceeded to call emergency services. Dead's suicide caused a rift between Euronymous and some of the friends, who were disgusted by his attitude towards Dead before the suicide and his behavior about his death afterwards. Necro Butcher, these guys have such ridiculous names, I love it, ended his friendship with Euronymous and left Mayhem. Mannheim, I don't even know who the fuck that is, later speculated that Euronymous had willfully left Dead alone in the house so that he would have a chance to kill himself. Dead's suicide was said to cause a change in the mentality in the black metal scene and was the first in a string of infamous events carried out by its members. Dude, this is like when black metal in Europe just fucking exploded and they're all just burning churches and trying to be more and more brutal. Like, that's so fucking metal.
Yeah.
So fucking metal. It was rumored that he ate parts of Dead's brain. I forget. I think that was Euronymous. It was rumored he ate parts of Dead's brain and took fragments of the skull to be made into necklaces. The band has confirmed that and confirmed the rumors. Euronymous then sends this picture to the recording company, and it becomes the art of one of their albums. Euronymous would later be murdered by one of his fellow musicians, Burzum, who we'll get into, and Dead's obituary read, "Dead was pronounced dead."
Yeah, this is definitely a rough one to look at, especially when you know the story and you know it's real.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
It's so fucked.
I love it. Dude, I mean,
it's great, but it's fucked.
Yeah, I just love that. It's just so chaotic and such bullshit. Like, they're just stupid teenagers, right? But they think they're evil as fuck. But, like, if you're gonna fucking die and have to, like, end up killing yourself, I think it is a pretty cool way to be memorialized. Like that
fucking black metal album cover.
Yeah, like your shitty friends carve rings or necklaces or whatever the fuck out of your skull and they put you on their album cover. Like, it's fucked up, but it's still kind of cool. People are going to talk about that forever.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Dead was pronounced dead. That's so good.
Yeah, this one's not as brutal.
Still metal though.
It's still pretty metal.
Okay.
So classic rock, right?
Yeah.
Metallica, Master of Puppets. The artwork, the cover was designed by Peter Mensch and painted by Don Broudegam. The Master of Puppets cover image, it was really conceptualized by Metallica. It was a kind of a crude sketch, Jesus, by James Hetfield. Mm-hmm. It was sent to Don Broudegam as a guide. Lars Ulrich said that the image encapsulates the idea of people, whether they are soldiers, like the song Disposable Heroes, or drug addicts, Master of Puppets, being subconsciously manipulated, which is an overall theme of the record.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see the comparison there. Like you see like the, puppet strings coming from the hands down below to the crosses. I don't have it it's kind of cropped out of this image that I have here on the screen, but there are like, dog tags and a helmet draped over a couple of the crosses. Mm-hmm. It's legendary album art, it's like album, is one of the biggest, rock and metal, albums of all time. Even if you don't listen to Metallica on the regular, like you've definitely seen the cover before, like on a t-shirt or, something
T-shirts.
Before.
Yeah. So many shirts, and it looks great on a shirt. Honestly, the perspective of it is what makes it pop. The colors and perspective.
Right. It's definitely that contrasting. I always found it hard to do, red and green.
Oh,
it's so hard to do
Christmas.
Yeah, it's actually it always looks like Christmas, especially with the white, and it's somehow it completely subverts that.
That orange, I think, is what makes it because it does this gradient shift almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's so fucking Metallica-like that they're like, it could be soldiers or drug addicts. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? You guys can't even get your concept all the way nailed down.
Yeah.
Come the fuck on. That said, Metallica's one of the only classic heavy metal bands that I can deal with. They've got some good songs. They do a lot of bullshit, but this album cover is what my introduction to Metallica was through. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's classic.
Yeah, I agree. Metallica is one of the few of the classic rock ones that I can still listen to. So much, I just mentioned it on the last episode, but there's so much, classic radio rock kind of bands like that are just, I can't hear it anymore. Yeah. If I hear, fucking, Quiet Riot one more time, I'll shoot myself. But if I can listen to most songs by Metallica, on a not like a regular basis, but I can hear it and be like, oh yeah, this is a good song.
It's chill. So this next one, this album is called Aske by Burzum, and Burzum, I've spoke about him multiple times on this.
Yeah,
he's a total piece of shit, but I fucking love his music. He's the guy, so Dead is dead. Dead committed suicide. Euronymous took the pictures for the Mayhem cover, and Burzum is the guy that later murders Euronymous.
Right.
So the album Aske by Burzum, Aske is Norwegian for ashes. It is an EP by Norwegian black metal solo project Burzum. Unlike Mayhem, where there's all these band members, Burzum is just one guy playing everything on different tracks and making these albums himself. Though recorded in April and August 1992 after Detsem Engervar, it was released before that album in March 1993 through his record production company called Deathlike Silence, which is a stupid as fuck cheesy name because they are basically they're just metal nerds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The cover is a photograph of the Fantoft Stav Church after its arson on the 6th of June 1992. Varg Vikernes, who's Burzum, was strongly suspected of burning the church, and the photograph is widely believed to have been taken by himself. According to the official Burzum website, the cover photograph was taken by R. Mandal. So he says the official line is that his friend took it, he didn't commit the arson, and he had somebody else take the picture. In an interview, Mundal stated that Vikernes, Burzum, a longtime friend, asked him to visit the site of the church shortly after the fire and take photographs, of which one became the album cover. Mundal initially regarded as a suspect in the arson, but was cleared of all charges. Burzum allegedly had the photos developed in Sweden in order to fend off suspicion. On the 16th of May, 1994, Burzum was sentenced to 21 years in prison, which is Norway's maximum penalty, for the murder of Euronymous, the arson of 3 churches, the attempted arson of a 4th church, and the theft and storage of 150 kilograms of explosives, which
Jesus.
they found in his car with a bunch of weapons when he was arrested. So, in summary, Varg or Burzum was a real piece of shit, and he's also a notable racist and possible rapist, but I do admire his passion and hatred of religion. And as a teenager, both his music and church burnings were extremely inspiring. They inspired fucking metalheads across the world to burn their local churches, and quite a few burned across Europe. If you're a fan of black metal or intrigued by the story of this album cover, I highly recommend checking out the documentary on black metal titled Until the Light Takes Us. It's super good. It involves band members related to these murders and arsons. And there's also a recent movie out called Lords of Chaos, which attempts to show how some of these events unfolded. It's about mayhem, and it involves Burzum, Euronymous, all these guys. And it's very interesting because it shows all these characters that you think of as like these super hardcore metalheads that are like evil Satanist kind of shit. It shows them just as like confused lost teens that are like, it's the first time I've seen them portrayed that way, and I feel like it's probably a lot more of a realistic look, and I think hardcore metal fans probably think that take is stupid as fuck, but I think it was probably more accurate to these lost kids with mental health problems than these hardcore guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely something to be said about, like, man, they just did some different shit in Norway, huh?
Yeah.
They're on a whole different fucking level here.
Now,
trying to play one up each other on how brutal they can be.
Yeah, and now here's what... All right, so I spent a lot of time researching it over the years. Here's the part that's kind of disappointing for me. So, Sweden and a lot of those places, they're like Christian countries now, right? Mm-hmm. So the whole church burning thing, like, yes, these bands hated religion, right? They didn't want religion in their country, but there also is like a lot of white nationalist stuff in these metal communities.
Yeah. And
part of it also was that they wanted to reclaim the like pagan soil of Sweden. So they didn't want these Christian churches in it. But so there's like a weird mix. It depends on who you ask if it's about anti-religion or if it's about like embracing your pagan roots and getting rid of Christianity. And I think that stuff, that gets a lot weirder. Like Burzum I admired him for years thinking it was like all just anti-religion. And then you find out these guys are also like white nationalist bullshit, and it starts to ruin a lot of these things, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you fucking assholes.
Fuck pieces of shit.
But it's like you need angry people to make angry music. But, you know, it really was disappointing to hear, like, you know, they always say never meet your heroes. Like when you really look up to a musician and then you find out about their personal life and you're like, fuck, man. Like, I wish I just didn't, you know, learn more about you because their lives are always a fucking mess.
Right, yeah.
All right, what we got?
Gonna completely lighten the mood here.
Yeah.
In a different way. So my third pick was Rush, the Moving Pictures album. The art was designed by Hugh Syme.
This cover's dope, man.
It's a cool album cover. I mean, a lot of their album covers are cool, but while this isn't my favorite album by them, it's arguably their most popular. It's got hits like Limelight, Tom Sawyer, YYZ. It's the album cover that most people have seen from Rush. I really like this cover a lot because of the like triple entendre that they do on it. So obviously Moving Pictures is a reference to what movies were called before they first became popular. But the art depicts people literally carrying and moving the artwork as some other people stand by crying because the artwork is moving, as in like touching their emotions and, they're getting emotional over it. So it's a really fun concept, and I've always thought, it was a cool cover, and its popularity beat out the argument that I had to use Hemispheres instead, because that was the one I kind of wanted to use. It's one of my favorite Rush albums. But this one in particular, I think definitely stands out, as far as, definitely people recognize it. But I don't know, it's just, it's a cool concept. I think it stands for a lot of like what Rush is in general. It tries to be intellectual, but it's about kind of concept kind of stuff. It makes you think a little bit.
Yeah. It's quirky. But
I've always described Rush as like it's about, it's not really about people or places. It's about ideas, and that's kind of one of the things I've liked the most about Rush. But so in that same theory, this cover works for them.
You're making me angry. I feel like now I'm gonna have to reevaluate and give Rush a chance, and I really don't like that.
You got to be in a different mind state for them too, but I can give you some recommendations on where to start. There's like over 40 years worth of work. So
yeah, fucking, I'm down, man. What I really like is how this is formatted. That red on black is one of my favorite combinations. How they did their lettering with like the art itself taking up a little less space, it fits it really well. It feels
right.
It feels bold and powerful that way.
Yeah,
it's poppy.
So what you got next?
All right, this is a fun one for me. So I chose Marilyn Manson's Mechanical Animals. So for this one, I was really stuck between Marilyn Manson covers. All right, and right off the bat, I used to like Marilyn Manson a lot. Still think he does some cool stuff, but I'm kind of over it. But he had some cool fucking covers, right?
Yeah.
So originally I picked Portrait of an American Family, which is, I think that's the first official Manson album. Because that album is so stylized and iconic. And I think it's really cool when a musician creates the cover art themselves. And Manson did that a lot. And for Portrait of an American Family, it shows a 4-member family depicted on the album cover, which were created by Manson using paper mache and human hair. The original cover was supposed to be that clown painting by John Wayne Gacy, the famous one.
Mm-hmm.
But that was originally set to be featured as the cover, and then that painting was used by a different band, Acid Bass. They used it for a 1994 album called When the Kite Strings Pop. So I guess they somehow got rights to it, or Manson didn't want to copy it. So he ended up not using the John Wayne Gacy clown painting and instead made this paper mache family that is like creepy as fuck. And it looks like claymation or like a Tim Burton cover. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just so classic. But, ultimately, I settled on Manson's Mechanical Animals. So this cover was super controversial. It has won a ton of critical acclaim and numerous awards. The infamous cover photo depicts Manson as an androgynous naked figure with breasts, 6 fingers, and airbrushed genitalia. It is the brainchild of New York City-based photographer Joseph Coltrus. Designer Paul Brown has said of the cover, "I'm extremely proud of it." Did I read that right? Oh, I think it was both of these. So the photographer Joseph Coltrus and designer Paul Brown. And they said they were extremely proud of it. I said more in one of his covers than any novel I could. Fuck, I'm going to have to cut all that. I read that like garbage. It made people think and cringe. In 2003, VH1 included Mechanical Animals at number 29 in its list of 50 greatest album covers. It was also featured in Grant Scott's book, The Greatest Album Covers of All Time. So, contrary to popular internet rumors, the band leader, Manson, did not undergo any plastic surgery for this androgynous alien look. Now, I don't know why the fuck this article would say contrary to popular belief, because I really doubt people thought that.
Yo, I'm glad you did say that, because my family hella did think that. There are definitely people that I knew that were like, did you see what he did? And like thought that shit was hella real.
Did they? I think he kind of did play it up. Like, wasn't it a whole media thing where he only went out?
100% was.
Yeah, maybe that's why. So the breasts are prosthetic, manufactured especially by Screaming Mad George's SMG Effects, which is now out of business. Manson, in reality, naked and covered head to toe in latex paint, provided by the same movie makeup company. His genitalia are covered up by foam latex appliance to create his androgynous appearance of the alien's figure he called Omega. There's this whole concept thing that went behind the album. So Omega was the character. The singer explained it represents sexlessness and vulnerability in addition to his own affection for prosthetic limbs. So fucking stupid. Originally, the makeup consisted of 6 breasts with nipples. Manson has stated in interviews that his friend and actor Johnny Depp is the current owner of these prosthetic breasts, because of course he is.
Of course.
Which Manson traded for Depp's strawberry blonde wig worn in the 2001 film Blow. That is hilarious.
The fucking goofy friendship.
Yeah, dude, they're such a weird friend couple. Even more fascinating are the amount of... So this is what's really fucking cool. So what's even more fascinating about is the amount of hidden messages within the booklet of the album cover. So this was designed by Paul Brown. The booklet and disc were housed in a blue jewel case when you bought the album. In the booklet, yellow text would be revealed when pressed up against the jewel case, such as URLs with Easter eggs for now, which had a now defunct website, comawhite.com, and it had all these various quotes and lyrics and little things for the hardcore fans.
That's pretty cool.
That's so fucking dope, man.
Yeah, that's fun shit.
You unfold the booklet and put it through the jewel case and get these hidden texts to appear. For all these reasons, this made the album art super special to me, but the real reason I picked it is just the impact it had on me. This is like the first time I saw a musician or anyone really question gender and sex that openly, right? Like,
yeah.
I don't remember seeing anything else like that as a kid, like maybe David Bowie, but this was like so in your face. I think he looks fucking beautiful too.
It's a pretty cool look.
So cool. I wore a shirt of it forever. As a kid, this art intrigued me enough to question these topics around gender, sex, whatever, and expanded my worldview and acceptance to people different than myself. So even though there's currently a warrant out for his arrest.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he did some dumb shit, like spitting on a cameraman. But,
God.
And there's been all kinds of accusations on Manson this year also. But despite all the dumb things he has done and will always do, I really appreciate his old music because of this open-mindedness and questioning of things. I just fucking love this album cover.
You know what's goofy is especially with the the little jewel case full of the booklet full of different like hidden messages and shit.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of ICP. Because they would do that shit. Like they would always have like extra shit. They were they realized they had the kind of a cult fan base, and they were like, this is what we would want. Like from like things that they're fans of is like, we want extra shit, like give us some cool shit. And it was like just different little games or different little like you said, links to shit that they could go to or things that they could look for and find that they It's like, if you steal the CD out the fucking, thing in the CD store, you don't get all that information. But if you go out and buy it and you take it home and you like flip through it and read it and shit, then you get, bonus content basically.
Dude, that shit is so cool as a fan. And like,
yeah,
that's part of like, not a lot of people did all that stuff. And that's part of what made it so meaningful as a music fan when you found it. And then like today, like, there's all these like packages now, like you buy an album and it'll come with like tickets to a show. It's like $200 or whatever. They bundle things, posters, whatever. But there's not like hidden like content or like as much bonus stuff, or like the feeling that you're discovering something is kind of lost when you just discover your music on Spotify or YouTube.
Right, exactly.
Like you still get like some of that excitement when you like click on a random track on YouTube or whatever, but like it's not the same as like, I don't know, someone showing you this really cool album art and like these hidden messages in it. Like that shit was so fucking rad.
Right.
Ugh, I miss it, bro. I miss like this shit feeling new.
Them were the days, Steven. Now we're old and we get to say that.
I know. Like I remember like walking into the park near my house and like listening to Manson in the woods with like random neighborhood scoundrels. You know what I mean? Where everybody like has different burnt copies of shit or stuff they stole from the store, and you're like, let's look at this album art.
Yeah, man, exactly.
Something in the woods.
Burn something. Damn right.
I remember like one of the parks we went to is right next to this this like shitty old graveyard that like it was abandoned. Like the grass was never cut for like 5 years. It was just overgrown and like a piece of shit graveyard. And there was like like the director.
Someone buried their family there. It's a piece of shit graveyard.
You buried your family in a piece of shit graveyard. But there's like the funeral office house, whatever. I don't know what you call it in a graveyard. Like the main building. It was the only building, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just was completely abandoned. And like we broke in the garage one day and we found one of the body freezers.
Dip.
Still in there. And then we found like, it was weird. It had like, there were like 30 chainsaw blades. Like,
oh, Jesus.
Like the linked blades were just hanging all around the inside of the directory or whatever.
You found the murder room.
Dude, it felt like it. And like when you're 15 or whatever, you're like, oh my God, we found it. We all wore like the chainsaw blades as necklaces. So much fun. And that's what, a Marilyn Manson album's all about.
Yeah.
Dude, the chainsaw grease would get all over your clothes and ruin your shirts. Oh, shit.
Oh, fucking A.
So, on the other end, what is this one?
Oh, what fucking whiplash.
Yeah.
My next pick was Young Jeezy's Thug Motivation 101.
Dude, what? Real quick, what rapper did Manson go on tour with? Do you remember?
Oh, Jesus, no.
He did a tour with, it wasn't Young Jeezy for sure, but it was like an actual rapper like that.
Oh, yeah, no, I have no fucking idea.
You do your, go ahead. I'll
you look that up. So the album cover it's a photo, and Jeezy sitting in front of 2 stacked shelves full of boxes of cash. Yeah. I couldn't find an art credit for the photographer or anything for this one, but the album stuck out to me in a few ways. Number one, it's easily the most memorable of any of the rap album covers I've ever seen, and maybe that's just because this album got stuck in my first car's CD player, and I played it on repeat for fucking forever. Like I never got tired of this album. I still listen to this album to this day. So I thought about it a lot. Number two, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but apparently all the cash in the boxes is real. Jeezy claimed he refused to do the photo shoot unless the money was real. So there's about $2 million in cash just chilling behind the snowman, which is big if true. That's a bold ass move to do for your first actual album.
Yeah.
And that's why Jeezy's the fucking truth.
The snowman chain. God, dude, that's funny. Dude, it looks like, Am I tripping, or are all the boxes that don't have cash? They look like court case file boxes.
I mean, they could be. That might be an extra touch. It looks like I thought it was just like generic ass packaging, like filing boxes.
Yeah. It looks like he's chilling in the precinct. Like
right.
he murdered all the cops and he's just chilling in the evidence locker.
Just old fucking banker boxes, just full of fucking cash.
Yeah. So Manson, I know Manson's toured with a shit ton of rappers, but he did like I feel like it wasn't good, but I know he did like a couple songs with some rappers, and they toured together also.
Oh, you're thinking of Limp Bizkit.
Was it?
I don't know. It just sounds right. It sounds like some shit that happened.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, next one. I swear after this episode, guys, I'm not going to talk about black metal for a while. It's just all backed up in my system. So this cover, I think it's fucking gorgeous, though. Yeah. This album's called Pulver by Life Lover, which is a kind of a funny name, but they're from Sweden also, I believe, so it probably doesn't sound like quite as cheesy to them. But the band's called Life Lover. The album is called Pulver, which in English is powder, or in Swedish, it's powder, right?
Yeah.
So I really just picked this one just because it's so incredibly beautiful. Yeah. This is one of the ones that I picked purely on aesthetics. From the Swedish black metal band Life Lover. It was released in 2006. So this cover is just a woman naked, splattered in blood on a mossy rock. And the packages they released this in, it's just these photographs are so beautiful. She's laying in flowers. It's just, I don't know. You just got to see it. This is one of the ones that you really do just have to see. It's not the best for an audio description, but it is beautiful.
So I will say again with the red and green back and forth. Now I do want to say the actual cover itself starts to give some Christmassy vibes to me, and I think
closer.
Yeah, I think what really hits it for me is like on her one shoulder that the light catches. I think that light into that gradient there kind of, it might be that highlight that does it, because in the rest of the images, inside the booklet, I don't get that vibe from those ones.
Yeah, I really like the other images that were on the record too. Yeah. The records too. Now, dude, there really is something like the art of like both special effects, zombie movies, comic books, whatever. When there's like a big bloody massacre scene, the style of which someone does the blood splatter says so much about the artist.
Yeah.
Is that not a thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's so many ways to do a blood splatter and most of the time it looks terrible. I think they did hers very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah. All right. What we got?
So my next one is Between the Buried and Me's Coma Ecliptic.
I'm not familiar with this one.
The band or just the album?
The album.
Okay, so this is one of their newer ones, like within the last, I guess like 7 years now, so not really all that new. The only credit I could get was Corey Myers, who was their art director. But the image itself is well, let me read this. So the album cover, it's not like particularly wild or anything, but the way it fits the concept of the record, it's pretty significant to me. Concept albums in general, they're weird sometimes in that unless you really know the lore or you read the wikis and the subreddits and stuff, then you have no idea what the actual story is.
Right.
The concept of the album is about a man in a coma who is traveling through his past lives. Each track is a different life that he walks through, kind of like Twilight Zone-like, until he decides to move on to the next one. So the cover art is a man in a hospital gown, laying down horizontally, but floating a few feet in the air. His head is connected to some wires that are also floating, and they lead off to the side of the album. And he's surrounded by an otherwise empty desert. On the reverse side, the same wires like wrap around and they connect to the same man, mirrored, but he's in a dark room full of machinery that he's strapped up to. And I said, it's about, he's going through these different past lives and stuff. And it's really similar in a way to one of the other albums they did, the Parallax sequence. It was like astral projection and stuff like that, which I feel like fits their, they're kind of like mathcore-y, like hardcore-ish. He kind of fits that way of like being open to do kind of weird shit and get away with it, because it's like, oh, it's all a dream or it's all in a coma. But this one in particular, it really stuck out to me. I think a lot of Between the Buried and Me fans, at least some of the ones that I've talked to, don't like their newer shit because they're like more clean and they're more like harmonized lyrics and stuff. Like more prog metal instead of just like harder, hardcore shit.
Yeah.
But I really like all their new shit. So, I like this album a lot.
Oh yeah. Knowing the story of some of these covers makes it so much cooler. I really like the dream coma exploration through the tracks. That's super cool.
Yeah, I think it's it's fun. It kind of sticks out on a shelf full of album covers.
A little bit, but I think once I know what it means, it makes it way more interesting.
Yeah, and especially if you go to like listen to it, and it's like you can kind of get that vibe if you really pay attention to some of the lyrics. But it's also it's a metal band, so they're gonna like some of the lyrics are like growled and shouted and shit. So it's not always completely clear what's going on.
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted for a moment while you're talking. Did you hear all this noise going on at my end?
No, I sure didn't.
There's the tornado siren was going off, and then there was like thunder hitting over and over. It might be about to come down.
Oh boy, we got that actually this morning.
Yeah. And
it was
just
pretty
worked
brutal.
its way here. Yeah, dude, it sounds like it's going to hit hard here in a bit. So we might hear some rain here in a bit and see what a podcast in the rain sounds like.
Get that ASMR going, boy.
Hell yeah. All right.
Podcast to sleep to.
This next one is Crystal Castles, which is one of my favorites, man. I just fucking love their music. This is their third album, and most of their albums, if not all of them, if I'm not mistaken, are just titled with Roman numerals, like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. So this is Crystal Castles number 3. It is the third studio album by Canadian electronic music duo Crystal Castles, released on November 7th, 2012. The cover features an award. So this photo is like, they didn't take it. This photo is edited for their cover. So the original photograph on the cover features an award-winning photograph by Samuel Aranda. Aranda. It shows Mother Fatima.
Fatima Al-Quaz is how I would pronounce that, but I know that that's wrong.
Yeah, we suck. And she's embracing her son Zaid, who is suffering from the effects of tear gas after taking place in a street demonstration against the then ruling president Ali Abdullah Salah in Yemen in 2011. So this photograph was awarded the World Press Photo of the Year in 2011. And it looks like another year also. The powerful photograph was stylized and repurposed to create a powerfully dark and emotional album cover. They edited the colors, they cut the figures out, and it sets it in this like dreamy context in a way. Like it feels like it's like the strange place in Stranger Things, like that.
Yeah, the upside down.
Yeah, like that dark purple and these white figures, and it just feels like a mother comforting her son, but you can't really, see their faces all the way. It just is dark, but it feels emotional. This is one of the ones that like just seeing this, like if you saw this vinyl from across the room, it would give you an emotional impression.
Oh yeah.
It's like tattoos. Like people get a really cool, intricate tattoo, right? Mm-hmm. But if you had that instead had a more simple tattoo that was way bigger, like your whole back, you get that impression from way farther away. And
right.
Not that one's any better than the other. It's all situational, right? Or on the tattoo. But this is one of the ones, like, you see this cover and you will feel something. I think it's just so emotionally heavy, and it really fits the music as well. It's a beautiful album, but I just fucking love this cover, man.
Yeah. Yeah, really, really, like you said, it's touching. It's moving.
Yeah. Now you're about to get moving in a different way.
Yeah, we're gonna get brutal again.
Yeah.
We had to space that out a little bit. We couldn't have all the brutal shit all up front. That would have maybe sucked a little bit. So
for the losers. For all those
fucking posers out here.
Yeah.
So my sixth pick was Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
The hard part was picking a particular cover, since all of Cannibal Corpse's album art is this gorgeous and wretched.
No.
But the artist that they usually use is Vince Locke. Vince Locke, he does most, if not all, of their album art, and this one stood out as the most brutal to me. The image shows two ghoulish skeletal figures butchering a woman's body on the table, while dozens of fetuses and babies hang in the background in various states of dismemberment. Locke began work in 1986 illustrating Dead World. It was a zombie horror comic that soon became an underground hit. Since then, his work with comics have included The Sandman by Neil Gaiman, American Freak, Batman, The Spectre, A History of Violence, and he also worked with Wizards of the Coast as an interior artist for Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition books and expansions. The art is so gory that it's definitely controversial, but hey, someone has to be the most brutal death metal band.
Sorry, man. I just got cut off by that fucking thunderstorm. It just cut all my power, and somehow we kept the podcast alive. I don't think we lost anything.
We kept it rolling. We got some good commentary of me talking shit while you were gone.
Fuck yeah, dude. This thunderstorm. There's sirens going and shit. It sounds like it's pretty intense, but we're going to keep it going. We're recording in the eye of the hurricane. Lightning is striking everywhere. This is what happens when you bring up Cannibal Corpse. All roads lead to Cannibal Corpse,
it's
even
the truth.
in a hurricane.
Fucking recording live 2 weeks ago.
How fucking metal are we? Dude, this cover is so brutal, man. All their covers are so much fun. I love the babies hanging by the guts. That's so great.
It's so cute, right?
Yeah, it's so cute. So for this next one, I'm going to go with EBK4 by Brother Lynch Hung. He's the everybody killer, our favorite cannibal. So I was considering going with, I think I put it in here also, I was considering going with Money Store by Death Grips, just because it's another great example of iconic artwork. It's super bold. If you guys are familiar with that, you already know. If you're not, check it out. But I had to go with EBK4. This cover is just such strong gangster energy. It's like the ultimate rap album cover. It's a painting of a masked up dude, whether it's Lynch or what. He's got the fucking shining rings on his hand. He's got his pistol going through a bloody pillow with a big hole blasted in it that reveals his face, with feathers flying all over the room.
It's photoshopped ass bloody pillow.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It's really good.
It's just so fucking goddamn 90s. Like it just screams the 90s.
Yeah.
But it still goes harder than most rap album covers today by like a lot.
Yeah.
So EBK4 is the third studio album by rapper Brother Lynch Hung, released through Black Market Records on June 27th, 2000 as a follow-up to the 1997's album Loaded. Some of the songs on the album were not completed. They didn't have all their verses recorded yet, and etc. in time for the release date, which... If you're a Brother Lynch fan, that's not abnormal. Yeah. There's always problems with his albums. Due to disputes with the record label over this and other issues, Black Market released the album without the consent of Brother Lynch Hung, and it featured other artists off the label to complete the unfinished songs where extra verses were needed. Dude, that's like crazy.
That's so fucked. It's
like
so wild shit.
He had to have been so pissed. Like, imagine you write this whole album, like it's your dream project, like this is your little gangster baby. You've been recording for a year. You wrote all these songs. Your life's a mess. You can't get the album right. You're fighting with the production company, and they're like, don't worry, you don't have it finished. We're just going to get other rappers to write verses and finish it for you.
Yeah.
It was fucking nuts. So they got people to do these verses. The album featured Snoop Dogg, and it also featured X-Rated, who is a convicted murderer, among many others. I believe X-Rated was actually in prison at the time. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
And he was locked up, and he continued releasing albums by freestyling on tape recorders smuggled in and out of prison or over the prison phone system, and people would edit these calls and tapes and set them to beats. And it's just, some of them were fucking fire though, man.
Right.
X-Rated's done some cool shit, but it's just so crazy. Because of this train wreck of an album production, I couldn't even find the credit for whatever artist painted or designed this cover. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on. I believe it's a painting, but there weren't even credits online. Maybe if you had the original, you could see, but it's just, everything about this album was a shit show.
It's fucking wild.
It's gangster as fuck.
It is. Everybody killer.
Everybody killer. What do you got?
My next one is Coheed and Cambria.
Okay.
So of all of the albums I could have picked for them,
this is pretty.
The one I picked was The Color Before the Sun.
Yeah.
Arguably, it's the most different of all their albums and of their album covers. The art was done by Nick Steinhardt. So the reason I picked this one, again, the concept albums are weird, but with Coheed, it's not really about concept albums as it is like concept discography. All of their albums follow a story, follow stories and characters within a universe that was created by the lead singer, Claudio Sanchez. All the albums except for this one, which a few years ago, they finished a saga in the universe that they made and decided to release their first ever regular album. This is, nearly 20 years after they started making music, and they were like, let's do one that like doesn't have to have a whole story in the background and shit. So it's really different, and the work's really all different. So I think it's really fitting that this album cover is their most surrealistic, since the album's concept is further away from the norm of what they usually produce. The image is of a sunrise over water, with an abstract image of a house and a table and chairs flying from the missing opening front of the house. I think it's pretty cool since a lot of the songs on the album also come from the perspective of them always being on tour or recording, because they're fucking always on tour. So the broken home theme is really is kind of real for them.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool concept, and I think it's a fun album cover to for a band that does so much weird shit, for them to make a regular album. A traditional style album. I think they did a really good job with it.
I bet it felt really good to break from that format. I bet it was very creatively freeing.
Yeah. And I mean, they usually structure their songs a lot that, like, there are people that have listened to them for years and didn't realize that there's like a whole backstory of shit. And it's like, it's cryptic enough with the lyrics that like, you don't need to understand the story to like think like, oh, this is a bop, but like there's still so much going on that like it doesn't make sense without it. I don't think. At least maybe that's my perspective of looking at it like that now. But there's so much thought that goes into it, that way, and like structuring the entire album that way, and the symbolism that you have to use in the album covers and stuff like that.
Right.
So something different like this is it's really unfounded for them, and it's a lot of fun. I really like it. I dig the album a lot too. The music's pretty good.
Yeah, the more I look at this, the more I like it. I like the title, The Color Before the Sun, and the colors they chose. I also think how they did the negative space of like the base color of the album, that tan cream as it becomes the clouds. Super well done. This cover is like a surrealist designer's dream. You know what I mean? This is cool. I like this a lot.
The posts in the water, and the one of them that goes up and kind of becomes the door of the house, and
the reflection aspect of it, all the negative space is so well done. It's really cool. So that's a fun one.
Yeah. What you got next?
So staying with metal a little bit, I chose Himsa's album Hail Horror. So this album, honestly, this isn't like the best cover, but it's interesting. So it's strong imagery, it's simple, it's grimy but clean and bold still. Mm-hmm. I do admit it is slightly lackluster. It's a simple design of two silhouettes of faces looking at each other, and their tongues become intertwined as two snakes. It's pretty simple, but it's kind of a cool symbol. But the reason I chose this is because this band was my first introduction to death metal and death metal album art, and I didn't choose it so much for the music, but while this cover is solid, it's not as impressive as I'd like, right? But it was so new and exciting to me that this art felt really important, and it made me want to know who made it and how. Initially, I thought the album was sand art. Are you familiar with this by any chance?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yeah.
Oh, dude, I don't know. There's tons of different sand arts, but have you seen the version when they do projectors?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's like shadow play on a projector by sprinkling sand.
It's so much like working in the negative with that. That's so, contrary to what you know as an artist and, traditional taught artist.
And it's so cool how you can use a 2D medium to do video work, right? You're doing like motion graphics too. You know what I mean? You can do a film and a story out of it. Like the people that are super good at it, it's just so cool. So originally I thought it looks like it was a form of that type of art, right? Mm-hmm. Or I see how I thought it could have been. Damn, that thunder is going, man.
Yeah, I heard that one.
This storm likes the metal covers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So this album helped me discover this whole new medium and possibility of art that I didn't, I was new to metal, new to art. This was inspiring to me. The cover was actually done by Steven Kasner, who was born in the 70s and he died in 2019. He was an American multidisciplinary artist from Cleveland, Ohio. Primarily a painter and illustrator, but also a musician, photographer, graphic artist, occultist, and magician. Kasner was mainly known through his cover art designs for bands such as Rotting Christ, that's another big metal band, Decrepit and Sono, Integrity, Marduk, and Pulling Teeth, among others. This dude is pretty well known for his metal cover work. So this album was my intro to the classic death metal album art.
Sick.
And it's on the lighter side, but it's I don't know, it's just bold, I won't forget this cover.
It's no Butchered at Birth, but
correct.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty metal.
Yeah.
My next pick was Black Sabbath with their self-titled first album, Black Sabbath.
Such a classic cover.
It really is. The artist credited was Keith McKillen, credited as Keith on the album itself. So, of course, people in 1970 thought that Black Sabbath was about devil worshipping. The deep fried ass picture of the woman in black by a misty pond near this the large old European looking structure, the ornate font they used, the inverted cross on the inside of the leaflet, not to mention the opening track on the album. The album scared a lot of people, and that fucking rules.
Yeah.
The model in the image didn't really even know who the band was or anything because, they're pretty new at the time, and they apparently took a bunch of other photos of her without clothes as well. But they decided that the sexuality took away from the darkness that they were trying to invoke with the image.
Yeah.
Also, a fun thing I learned while I was looking into this album, it was basically recorded in a day. They went to wherever they were going. They had 2 days of studio time. So they like kind of one-shotted everything like in one session, and then a few extra effects or layers were added the next day. But they just recorded it in one session live and then mixed it all the next day, which is really fucking wild. I mean, you can kind of tell that if you listen to it, but like I wouldn't have thought that. I thought it was just, some low quality little bits that were in there and whatever, but that explains a lot of shit. But the image itself is really pretty. There's lots of reds and purples and, this kind of haze of like the morning, the golden hour, kind of lighting.
Those colors, dude, they're great. It's like the retro, like grimy psychedelic colors.
Right. And like her skin tone comes across as like that sickly yellow green.
Yeah, with the red and the red of the trees and the purple of the plant. It's gnarly, man.
It's fucking gothic as hell.
Yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, people are fucking terrified by this album.
Yeah, and like
it's I mean, in contrast to like, new shit, it's so tame, but it was 1970s.
So tame.
There was nothing else like this going on right then. So
this was pushing the boundaries so hard at the time. For like a moderately kind of creepy photo.
Yeah.
But it's so cool.
It does. It looks like a deep fried meme, man.
Yeah.
It's like real. It's so crunchy and it's, overexposed but it looks really good. It looks cool.
It's cool that the photographer was titled just by his first name in the credits.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. It shows like, at the time they were still so new and small that they, referred to their photographer on a first name basis.
Oh, it wasn't even his first name. It was his nickname. It was Keef. Keef.
Oh, that's funny. Holy shit. It looks like it was photographed by a Keef.
Damn.
You ready for this next one?
Yeah, man. Hit it up.
Dude, do you know Mr. Bungle?
I sure don't.
Dude, you will actually like his music, this music a lot, because it's like very concept album, classic rock, but it's genre bending. So, do you know Faith No More?
I'm sure I've heard some of their songs before, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
There's a couple songs, I'm blanking on their names, but there's a couple that you 100% know just from WBN, like radio rock songs.
Yeah.
So Faith No More was led by the musician Mike Patton, vocalist, plays instruments, does a bunch of shit. So he is a famous voice work person. Like he did all the creature sounds for I Am Legend.
Oh, okay.
And he does like entire operas where it's just him making vocal noises. Like crazy shifts in, you know what I mean? Like he just does weird shit. But he's the singer for Faith No More. And Faith No More is whatever, but Mr. Bungle. So this album art is so dope. So Mr. Bungle's first album, self-titled Mr. Bungle, is the debut studio album by American experimental rock band Mr. Bungle. He
said it so many times.
That made me so happy. I haven't got to say weird. Mr. Bungle that many times in so long. It was released on August 13th, 1991 through Warner Bros. Records. The album contains many genre shifts, which are typical of the band and helped increase the band's popularity, gaining a cult following. It's what made them so fun. They would have tracks like Air Conditioned Nightmare, and it would be like he starts singing in like a classic rock sound, and then they do tempo changes and then switch through like 3 different genres in one song.
Oh, like, that's wild.
He would be zany as fuck and sing in all kinds of different styles. Like he would do metal vocals with like opera and classic singing all in one song.
That's pretty fucking wild. I like that.
Dude, you would enjoy a lot of it. I'll show it after this because I was really excited to show you. So they gained a cult following. The cover is a mix of Killer Clowns from Outer Space and John Gacy shit. The cover depicts this evil clown. It's evil but fun and captures all the zany energy of the album just perfectly. Additionally, the design elements of the art itself are really ahead of its time and have been popularized in contemporary album art work today. All the bordering, it has like mirrored logos, these curved angles, the logo just right. It was really ahead of its time, in my opinion. The original cover art was supposed to be a red version. This is the opposite of what happened with that Sepultura cover we looked at a couple weeks back. Mm-hmm. With the Sepultura one, the original artwork was in this green shade, and the band decided it wasn't evil enough, so they did red. For Mr. Bungles, it was originally blue, right? They wanted it. It was supposed to be a red version, and it stayed in the original colors. The red version is way more evil. Like, that shit is satanic as fuck.
Yeah.
That version of it, I found somebody recreated it based on the original descriptions, and I think they did a really good job. The album cover features artwork by Dan Sweetman, which is a wonderful name. And it was originally published in the story A Cotton Candy Autopsy in the DC Comics. Dan Sweetman does some wild and creepy stuff, and later would go on to do storyboard work for movies such as Disney's Alice in Wonderland. So he did some really big comic and movie storyboarding stuff, and his whole body of work is kind of this clownish, zany stuff. And this clown he did initially for something else, the Candy Clown Autopsy, was repurposed for Mr. Bungle's cover, and it is one of the creepiest fucking clowns I've ever seen, and I love it.
It's real fucking wild.
I bleached it for, I don't know if you remember, I had my own version of that clown bleached into one of my shirts and pants I wore.
Oh, that's why that's familiar.
Yeah, I gave him a little hat.
Yup.
He looked cuter with the hat, so I gave him a little hat.
Actually, and I'm glad you brought up that Sepultura album, because I'm going to bring that up in a little bit here too.
Fuck yeah! If you've seen Killer Clowns from Outer Space, right?
I definitely seen parts of it. I'm not sure if I watched it all the way through.
Yeah, it's one of those ones I totally would understand, even if you did watch it all the way through, if you wish you didn't. It's really fun. I really love that movie. Sarah hasn't seen it. We were just talking about rewatching it.
It was one of those ones where I was like, I was already in the mood to sit down to watch something like fucking goofy and kind of shitty, and I put it on and I was like, oh, this is a little bit more than I was bargaining for. Yeah,
that's one of those ones I felt like it was really important when I was stoned and on drugs. And then I tried to rewatch later. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Jesus Christ. It's got such a cool aesthetic, but man, it's a hard one to sit through.
Yeah. So my next one here is Dio, is a holy diver.
Oh shit. I hadn't seen this cover before.
This album, with the titular song, fucking Holy Diver, gets stuck in my head
Holy Diver
on like such a regular basis. Mostly, I think, because of the Pick of Destiny movie.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my god, it's really good.
Wait,
it's super
is that Black Jack?
Yeah, it's Jack Black, and well, it's him with his band. It's Tenacious D, so it's him and Kyle Gass, and it's so fucking goofy and wild, but like they're definitely like incredibly talented musicians.
They are,
and it's
is that they do the battle of the bands and everything?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny, man.
It's super really good. I really enjoyed that one. That's a classic from my childhood.
Oh yeah.
The DVD I have for it is fucked. I think it's been watched too many times and it doesn't work anymore. But this song was important to me anyways. But the album cover I always thought was pretty sick. So it's
brutal.
The art credit for it is Gene Hunter and Randy Barrett, which I'll get into why there's two people here in a minute. So the image itself, it depicts a devilish figure whipping a chained priest into the water, and the chain is snapped, so inevitably the priest is going to drown. It was Dio's wife who came up with the idea for the unholy cover art, and Dio explained that the initial concept was more hers than anyone's, but we both kind of developed it, and we thought people might think it was too controversial. Nothing's over the top anymore, but this was back in 1983.
This isn't controversial at all. This is what we should do to all priests.
Right? So needless to say, the reps at the record label were not thrilled. And they were, when questioned about the album cover, challenged by religious people, Ronnie James Dio responded, "How do you know it's not a priest drowning a monster? In hindsight, I like to think that we were right about who we put in the water."
Oh, shit.
Which fucking just so much more respect for Ronnie James Dio.
Just flip the script on.
Yep. The initial rendering of Holy Diver's cover was by Gene Hunter, but the illustration that actually appears on the finished product was the work of Randy Barrett. Gene was this musician we knew who drew pretty well, so we asked him to try it for us, Dio says. Originally, the artwork had the priest underwater, hanging upside down and chained to a cross. Eventually, we decided the cross was a little bit too much, but Gene did a great job with it, and Randy did the final rendering. The album's cover also solidified the Dio brand with the first depiction of the kind of devil beast known affectionately as Murray. And he's much like Iron Maiden's Eddie. Murray became a kind of mascot for us, Dio explains. And if you're going to have a monster, you have to give him a silly name because it personalizes it in a humorous way.
Yeah.
So here you have Murray whipping this fucking priest into the water.
Dude, it's
the Holy Diver.
It's metal as fuck. Dude, it's really funny. Some of the most hardcore, like, motorcycle motherfuckers I've ever known are huge Dio fans. And I remember being like 16 and being into like real black metal shit and like hearing like a real crazy motherfucker put on Dio and thinking it's so funny, but I couldn't laugh.
Yeah. And I can see it. The thing I kind of realized is like the better way to describe Dio to people is like, because they think Black Sabbath and shit, and it's like it's fantasy metal. He does a lot of like Tolkien-ish kind of shit. Like one of the first bands he was like founded was Elf, and it was very much like fantasy rock.
It's kind of like King Diamond.
Yeah, similar in that way.
Yeah. But at the time, we were making fun of the serial killer Ramirez for being into AC/DC, but it's like that's what they had available at the time.
Yeah,
like that's
would have been so much cooler if it was Dio. Here's another thing that I thought was cool was looking into this. A bunch of people were mad about the font for the Dio's like logo, I guess, for his name. Apparently, if you flip it upside down, it can read as either die or devil. And the band says that's just a weird coincidence. You're looking too much into it.
Yeah, all those chunky goth fonts, like you can read whatever the fuck you want out of half of them. Yeah, it's like that life and death mirror tattoo you see people have.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so stupid. Like life is like death.
But on the one hand, it's kind of like dying, you know.
It's all about how you look at things,
you're not living unless you're dying. And you can't die until you live, man.
Just dying to live. Dude, all right, this cover, I think I may have sent it to you, like, maybe even, like, a year or two ago, but I spent hours looking for it, which is a funny story, but I was looking for this cover for so long. It was from a gore metal band that I wanted to be on this list, but I could not find the cover. So if anybody hears this and knows what I'm referring to, or if I find it later, I would love to share it. But it's an album cover of a priest being shot in the dick with a shotgun by a little boy. Did I send that to you ever? Dude, the name of the album is like syphilistic like assault, and it's the kid getting away from the priest and blasting his dick off.
Oh my god, no, I don't think I've ever seen this. I mean,
it's the most brutal cover I've ever seen. So I spent like 2.5 hours trying to find it on Google, and like I'm having to Google things like shotgunning priest dick off album cover. I got none of the results I wanted, but I was just like laughing to myself for 3 hours while Googling like an insane person.
This podcast has ruined our algorithms.
Wait, it's perfect now.
Yeah, our fucking search algorithms were fucking destroyed.
Yeah, I'm on
Beyond
so
repair. Just throw away all your electronic devices and start over from scratch. All
yeah,
we're email accounts.
We're on all these federal lists now. Looking up terrorists and warlords. And
I typed in "butchered by birth" a bunch of times. Actually, there was a bunch of album covers that came up because I was like, let me just look and see if there's any of these, some of these that I haven't heard of that might be interesting to look at. And a bunch of them were like they had like underage girls like nude on the cover and stuff like that. Yeah. Like that's why it was controversial. And I was like, I don't want to fucking talk about that shit.
I saw that one also. There was, dude, some of these new gore bands, the shit that, like the Priest one is so brutal, but it's funny, right? Like, yeah. But a bunch of the ones these bands are putting out are like still frames from snuff films, where like even if it looked kind of cool, it's like it's not like Burzum shit is like still kind of funny, jokey. Even the Suicide one is, but if like it's like some real evil shit, like I don't know, it becomes less fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like the guy, for the the Mayhem album cover. It wasn't like someone murdered that guy.
Right, right.
It was he killed himself, and
that's what he wanted.
It was. I mean, you can say there's not a victim involved in the way that having snuff film shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's
or like
it's just slightly different enough to be fucked up.
Or like animal torture on a album cover.
Yeah.
Like that dude that this was like a year ago that shot those people in Dayton.
Oh yeah.
At the club. He was in a friend of a friend knew him because he was in a gore band. Jesus. Like that dressed up like women and like all their art was like super fucked up, and it's like that shit's not cool at all.
Murdering people is not cool, man.
Hot take, anti-murder.
We're taking a harsh stance here against murder.
Yeah, man. I almost brought it up in like the How is the Week section. Like I did mine real quick because man, dude, I had a pro-crime week. I didn't
a pro-crime week.
I was doing some shady shit just to stay afloat, bro. Anyways.
Oh, fucking Christ.
This next one, I think this is my last one. We're almost there.
I can't wait for this to get played in a courtroom.
Fuck, bro. The storm is calming. We're almost through the hurricane.
Almost there.
This one is Heartwork by the band Carcass.
Carcass, Take Me Home.
Have you listened to them?
I'm sure I have. I definitely recognize the name. I couldn't tell you any direct songs though.
They're kind of like the first wave of like hardcore, maybe death metal, but they're like that first wave when it was still new. Like they
did like melodic death metal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm into
it wasn't
that
like
shit.
It wasn't that crazy chaotic. It still had like melodic riffs, but it was hardcore still. So this album had a couple good tracks, but that doesn't matter. The cover is an example of the power of a strong symbol. So like a lot of the ones we picked were like beautiful art or like dark art or like an interesting story, but we really didn't do the ones that had strong symbolistic shit. One of the best examples of that is Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. Excellent cover, instantly iconic and memorable, but I didn't want to waste a pick on fucking Dark Side of the Moon. So I kind of went with the metal version equivalent that people may be less familiar with by the band Carcass. The album titled Heartwork. The imagery is simple, clear, memorable. It demonstrates the power of a strong symbol, and it's this really weird, perverted peace sign. Heartwork has been described as the band's breakthrough and mid-period masterpiece, as well as a landmark album in the melodic death metal genre. The album was recorded at Parr Street Studios in Liverpool. It came out in June 1993. It shows a sculpture depicted in the cover which was designed by H.R. Geiger. So this was an actual sculpture by H.R. Geiger, and it was like, they did photo editing and stuff, and they made the sculpture into a symbol for the cover. And this made it an instant major hit, instantly a classic metal cover, and it was the band's biggest major label release.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's so cool. It's the peace sign with like these two hands stretched across it, and it's almost like the clown ruffles, but like spiked, as if
I
there's
thought
like
it was like a spinal column.
It could be.
I read that.
Yeah, I can see it going either way, but it feels like centipede-ish almost. But yeah, and then like there's a fist for the, I believe it's a fist. There was something that said what it was, but it's so cool. H.R. Geiger obviously does all kinds of cool shit. It kind of looks like the alien tail, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like borderline. If you look at the hands in the place where they are, it almost looks like a crucifixion kind of thing.
Like that's
symbolism.
exactly, yeah, a crucifixion on top of a peace symbol.
Yeah.
Like, it's just powerful. You instantly, like, recognize the symbol. That's so cool.
Yeah.
All right, that's my last one, man. Bring it home.
Well, I wasn't sure about where to put this one. I was gonna a lot of pressure on that one.
Strong finish.
I wasn't really sure about where to put this one because it was like I was really going back and forth between this one and trying to find something from Buckethead, because Buckethead, he's got like, it's like something like 300 albums or some crazy dumb shit, and the
art with Lil B.
Yeah.
Buckethead wants to be as good as Lil B. He'll get there one day.
God damn.
I would love to hear them do a
collaboration.
Yeah.
Them two and Bootsy Collins. That would be incredible.
Son of a bitch. Why aren't we record execs?
Exactly. So the problem with trying to find a good Buckethead album is like, so they're all credited. Like, there's only a few people that really ever do some of the artwork. I'm sure he has some random one-off guests and stuff, but it's mostly like either Buckethead does it, or there's, he's got a couple different, was it Frankensoos was another one, and P Sticks was like another guy. It was like a roadie with him or something. I forget the, how it worked out, but he also did some of the cover art. But there's so many of them, and they're like out of context. They're weird, and they're kind of hard to describe. But I ended up going with this one because the imagery of this band I really like and appreciate.
They do cool art.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of their music, but they do some really cool art.
Yeah, so I picked Ghost. In particular, the album, their first album, Opus Eponymous. The art credit I got for it was Basilev's 254, which I don't know if that's like the studio that did it, or just the whatever artist name. So I keep seeing like these goth kids and e-girls and stuff with the Ghost shirts on, and they look blasphemous and they're awesome, and the style is cool and I really dig it. But I've had so much trouble getting into their music, and I've had the most luck with a few songs off their first album, but a lot of their work just really sounds generic and kind of poppy to me. Which, it's just not what I want with my blasphemy, I guess.
Same.
So that being said, the general visual appeal of the band is excellent.
Yes.
The cultish and satanic stuff, and for like 7 years the band members were anonymous, which was pretty rad. And the album cover, this one in particular, has the feel of like the cover of Salem's Lot. Instead of it's got a skeletal priest kind of lingering above a gothic castle with bats and lightning and shit. The design's really fucking cool. I wish I liked the music more, enough to rep the shit really. And one of their newer albums,
I think I'm looking at it,
has a play on the Sepultura album.
Dude, this is so cool. The prequel.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude, this is metal as fuck.
Like they said, the imagery's great, and the whole aesthetic for their show shit and their videos and everything. It's fucking so cool, but just the music's not there for me.
Yeah, they do some okay stuff, but it's just too soft. But dude, this prequel I'm so glad you found this one. Oh, shit. That's dope as fuck. It reminds me of the old Renaissance paintings with the demon whales.
Yeah.
You know, they show all the demons, and then it's kind of like put into the format of that old Sepultura album. So cool. What a demonic looking throne.
I fucking dig it.
Fuck yes, dude.
But that's all I got for my last pick there.
I really liked. Oh, I was gonna say the original, that first Ghost album cover is straight Scooby-Doo looking shit.
Oh, it super is. That's one of the things that drew me to it. It's like there's somehow it's both blasphemous and like super Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, ruh-roh raggy,
ruh-roh boys. Someone summoned Satan.
Satan took my Scoobies. Give me my Scoobies.
God did it all for Scooby snacks.
God, what, dude? I would do a lot for a Scooby snack right now. If they were as good as they look like they would be.
Would you commit murder?
Yes.
Yes.
I would commit a lot of crime for a Scooby right now.
What about for 2 Scooby snacks? I already said yes.
You get 2 crimes. Dude, this was a blast. I love album art. Even stuff like mainstream album art's getting a lot better too. Like even like a Tame Impala, that one cover that's super popular, or I forget what rapper did the one of Whitney Houston's bathroom after she died with all the bottles of alcohol. Like there's a lot of really cool album art coming out lately, and these companies are willing to pay more and more for these artists to do it. So if you're a graphic designer or artist looking to get into the whole album art game, definitely check out Black Market and Album Art Archive. They do some dumb stuff, but they do a bunch of cool stuff too.
And if you're a musical artist that's looking for album work, hit up my boy Steven. At Sky6 on Instagram.
I actually got one coming up. Do you remember that piece I did, The Shrine of Hunger? I hardly remember my stuff by name.
Oh, yeah, I super don't. I'm sure I would recognize it immediately by sight, though.
Yeah, it's got the chick with the scythe in the grain.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing that for this dude's cover. My dude, Leo, he's the guy. I have a screenshot to send you. He does a skateboard club at UC. He's a rapper and he does a skateboard club at UC. And after we started doing all the Trash Cat Raccoon stuff, he shares raccoon stuff all the time. Nice. As like, just because it's fun, and I think a shout out to us a little bit, but he's always posting on our group thing. He's a cool dude.
Nice.
Yeah. What else? What do we got to do to get out of here?
Any dishonors or advice? I mean, I guess the advice was use the black market and hit you up for some album cover work.
Sure. I haven't done much lately. Because of COVID, the last 2 bands that I had done multiple covers with kind of fucked me over. And I kind of like been getting out of that world. But there's a bunch of really cool resources and material for people making covers. And I don't know. I think people are realizing more and more how important album art is, and there's been some cool stuff lately.
Well, even if you don't need album covers, you hit up my boy Steven for some prints or some shit.
What else? You got any dishonors? I'm trying to think of who I hate lately, but it's
just too many people.
Too many people.
So thanks again for listening. Thank you. Thank you to Approaching Human for his use of the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Dude, you want to hear something wild real quick?
I do.
So
always.
I was just about, I have some of it saved, so we might be able to, but I was about to say, like, we want to get David to do a song on it, because we bounced on a song last week. We got one this week. We want to try to get David. I was thinking of doing John's music again, Approaching Human. And, dude, this week he dropped his computer. Fucking lost all of his music.
Oh, shit.
I'm so pissed. I tell him so often to let me back up his shit, and he just never.
You need backups and backups of those backups.
Dude, I got 3 hard drives right here. Same. Always backing up shit. I'm like, bro, you're killing me. But he's the type of person, he's like, oh, it's a new chance to start over. I'm not worried. Make some new.
Good for him.
I know. I'm like, dude, like you're killing me. Fuck, but whenever you get your next song done, John, let me know. We'll put it up here for sure.
Yeah, David said something about writing some whole new shit. I don't know about all that, man. That sounds like a lot of work for us.
Yeah. If he's up for it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, man. That's fucking super cool.
But I really like that track People, and then he had like two other ones that I especially liked. I would love to get him to throw something to play.
Old Castigate the Bottle. That was an older one.
I don't think I've heard that one. I've heard you talk about
That's
it.
That's a good one. About getting drunk as fuck and getting in fights and shit.
Hell yeah. If you guys are bored, make sure to check out the show page on Instagram at Trashcast for news. And we're going to have a post with all the album art from this episode. And we always share the art from the show and links to the artist. You can check out... I'm going to stop shouting it out soon, but the Trash Cats X Trash Cast Reddit page, we're really looking for a third person on it.
Anybody at all.
Anybody, I don't care. Anybody, put your cat on it. We're on Facebook.
You can post whatever you want on that page. It doesn't have to be relevant.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. Facebook people are following a little bit, but yeah, no one wants to see the Reddit. So, if you're listening on iTunes, feel free to leave a rating. We're trying to get that going a little bit. Also, if you're just an artist in general, or you're a musician, we're going to be looking for new Music Den episodes on all the time, and we like looking at fucking art. So fucking email it to us. What was the email again?
It's trashcast@gmail.com.
Yep, that was easy.
Yeah.
If you're bored, you can
you get one of those buttons, man.
Yeah. If you're bored, you can check out my trash yard on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZX. And
you can tune in next Wednesday for our episode on philosophy.
Yeah, dude.
Talk about the topic, huh?
Yeah, I have some fun ideas to run by you.
Cool. Kind of flying by the seat of our pants lately. That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
See you guys next time. Go fast, eat trash. And here's... Oh shit! God damn it! How does it sound natural? And here.
That's it. Just leave it. And here's, and then the music starts.
And now, OG Killer by Chaotic Steel.
Have you ever seen a ghost floating in the middle of the air, in the middle of the day? Ain't nobody really care if you're gone, if you're dead, it's all the same. Another empty shell, lost and found with no name. When did I become a ghost? When did I begin to float? Did I shoot? Did I fall? Did I choke? Will you mourn the loss of me? I hope. Do or die, psycho killer. Is you down to take my life? I don't have the guts or nuts to pull the trigger. I tried twice, take cyanide through the night. Who will notice when they're all preoccupied? In my mind we stand and die for what is right. But one can only hope, one can only dream for world peace. In a world where every piece of shit can hold heat. Stay strange, always angry, the crazy in me, but when now it runs in the family. I can't believe I let it get this far. But now that we're here, so far away, come play the guitar. Fly away, drop a 2-shirt stain in the car. Cry me a river, drown in it. Now welcome back, I burn my bridges, send you back a welcome mat as souvenirs. Corny keychains for the kids who face their fears. Do or die, psycho killer. Is you down to save a life? I can't seem to find a purpose in between society's lies. I ain't shit, you ain't shit, we ain't shit collectively. Pissing shit to every wish set out to put a hex on me. Do or die, psycho killer. Is you down to run away with my bleeding heart a run and start to where my soul shall lay? Tell me lies, tell me truths. I confide in my words that I pry from my mouth in this booth. I'm upset, I'm aloof, gaming heads, I'm a lose. Since birth I've been cursed, I knew what I was the first to notice my own regurgitation back to this verse. I'm trying but it's not worth it. Sometimes I watch this work myself into the dirt for the best, I hope. best, I hope. Have you ever seen a ghost floating in the middle of the air, in the middle of the day? Ain't nobody really care if you're gone, if you're dead, it's all the same. Another empty shell, lost and found with no name. When did I become a ghost? When did I begin to float? Did I shoot? Did I fall? Did I choke? Will you mourn the loss of me? I hope. Nah. Faded and faded and faded and died.